Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and really focus on those compelling insights that shape how we see things. And today we're jumping into an idea that sounds, well, almost too simple at first, but trust me, it holds this incredibly sharp lens for looking at human behavior. It's one of those fundamental statements, once you really get it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Advertising, politics, maybe even in your own hopes and dreams. Our source material for this deep dive is a really potent excerpt from The Art of Fantasies. And our mission is to properly unpack this pretty provocative declaration. People don't want reality. They want dreams. Give them what they crave. We're going to explore what that actually means for you, how it shapes perceptions, and why understanding this might just be a huge key to understanding what makes people tick.
It really is deceptively simple, isn't it? That single sentence. It seems so straightforward, but it taps right into something timeless about human desire. It points to this fundamental preference that shaped, well, everything from entire industries to, art and even our own individual choices, society itself, really, for ages. So, yeah, we're going to peel back the layers, look at the psychology underneath that makes this statement, frankly, so powerful.
Okay, let's dive right in then. This fascinating idea, this paradox. People don't want reality. They want dreams. Now, hang on, because we often think of ourselves as truth seekers, right? We want the facts, the unvarnished reality. So what does that statement immediately bring up for you? Why would someone make such a bold claim? It feels like it pushes back against a lot of common sense.
And that's exactly where its power comes from, you see. It forces us to reconsider. When the source talks about reality here, it's probably not talking about absolute philosophical truth. It's more about the raw, messy data of just existing, the mundane stuff, the limits, the challenges of daily life that can be, frankly, pretty tough. Think about, the complicated spreadsheet, the endless to-do list, the world as it is with all its flaws and maybe its uninspiring bits. It can be overwhelming, right? Sometimes disappointing. And it rarely lines up perfectly with what we actually want. Dreams, though. It's different. Dreams are the curated stories, the ideal outcomes, the exciting possibilities, the escapes. Dreams are about what the human mind wishes for, what it aspires to, not just what is. It's like reality is the architect's blueprint, okay? Full of technical details, constraints, but the dream, that's the glossy render, the inspiring vision of the finished building full of feeling and purpose. It just looks more appealing than the raw plans.
That's a really helpful way to put a blueprint versus the grand vision.
Yeah.
Okay, but why? Why the preference? We think of ourselves as rational, logical beings. So why this strong pull towards the dreamed of ideal instead of the tangible facts?
Well, it seems to be pretty deeply wired into how we think. From a cognitive science angle, our brains are actually amazing storytellers. We're kind of built for narrative. It helps us make sense of all the complexity out there. A dream gives you that coherent, emotionally satisfying, a beginning, some kind of struggle, and then the payoff, the resolution we want. Plain reality, raw data, it often lacks that neat story arc. It's just facts. So this narrative bias, as some call it, means a really compelling vision can sometimes sort of override purely logical thinking. We're just more receptive when information is framed in that aspirational way. We don't just process data, we look for meaning. And dreams are packed with meaning. It's not necessarily a flaw in our thinking. Sometimes it's just a mental shortcut. Helps us evaluate things quickly, motivates us to act.
So it's almost like our brains prefer the exciting movie trailer over the full, sometimes slow documentary. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense when you think about how we consume information. But the source uses an even stronger word here. Not just want, it says crave. That word crave, it really ups the intensity, doesn't it? It's not just, oh, I'd prefer that. It's this deep, almost physical longing. What does craving tell us about how intense this desire really is?
Exactly. Crave pushes it beyond just preference. It suggests something more fundamental, almost like a biological or emotional imperative. When we crave something, it's often about filling some kind of void, right? Or escaping discomfort, soothing some deep psychological tension. It's that drive for emotional fulfillment that logic alone doesn't always satisfy. Think about being hungry. It's not just, oh, food would be nice. It's urgent. It's visceral. And this craving for dreams, it reflects a similar profound human need for hope, for purpose, for feeling like there's something more beyond just this our immediate situation. This impulse, it's not just about thinking things through. It often connects directly to our limbic system, the emotional center of the brain. That's why an inspiring speech can give you goosebumps, right? Or why watching a hero's journey feels so uplifting. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're emotional experiences. We feel them. So the craving for dreams isn't really about denying reality. It's more about finding a way to make reality bearable, or maybe even exciting and meaningful. We do that by wrapping it in this future-focused, idealized story. It's this yearning for something that resonates so deeply, it makes us act Even if the cold, hard facts might say, whoa, hold on. It's like a powerful inner compass pointing toward what we feel we need to be whole or fulfilled. And yeah, sometimes it overrides pure logic.
That's fascinating. So it's not really about fooling people or being intentionally deceptive. It's more about understanding this really primal emotional pull towards stories and potential. Makes you think, doesn't it? How much of our lives are actually shaped by these perceived dreams? The products we buy, the jobs we chase? It's almost unsettling how deep it goes. Which brings us neatly to the second part, the actionable bit. Give them what they crave. Yeah, okay. So if you grasp that people genuinely crave dreams more than just raw facts, suddenly that's cream.
Well, that's a very powerful key to understanding influence, isn't it? It's not just an observation, it's framed as a directive, an insight into real connection. So what does this directive actually mean for us in practice?
Right. And this opens up a really crucial question, doesn't it? If you accept that people crave dreams, how does that fundamentally change how you might communicate?
Right.
Or create things, or even just understand society? It suggests a pretty radical shift in focus, actually, away from just the facts and towards the emotional, aspirational layer, because that's often what really drives engagement and decisions. Let's think about some concrete examples. What about, say, the tech world? Take Apple. They don't just sell you a phone or a computer, do they? They sell a dream. A dream of everything working perfectly together, of effortless creativity, of belonging to a certain kind of, well, aspirational group. They show you the joy of using the product, the simplicity, the connection to this imagined, maybe more elegant version of yourself. They don't lead with processor speeds or RAM, usually. I mean, that stuff's there, that's the reality. But they lead with the dream of what you can do and feel when you're part of their world. And what happens when a brand doesn't connect with that dream? Well, they often find it hard going, right? Even if their product is technically amazing, they're kind of stuck selling facts to people who are actually craving a fantasy.
That is a perfect example. Selling the experience, the identity, not just the gadget itself. How does this same dynamic show up in other areas, like politics, for instance? That seems like a big one.
Oh, absolutely. Politics is drenched in this. Successful campaigns, they very rarely win just by listing policy points or reciting economic data. That's not what moves people, usually. Instead, they paint a picture, a grand vision for the future, a dream, really maybe of prosperity or security or national unity, whatever it is. They tell stories that tap right into people's hopes. And yeah, sometimes their fears too, their aspirations for something better. Think about powerful slogans. Things like "Make America Great Again" or "Hope and Change." These aren't detailed policy proposals.
No, they're definitely not.
They're powerful, evocative dreams. They resonate emotionally deeply. They offer a narrative where you, the voter, get to be the hero. Your vote becomes the key action that leads to this better, idealized future. Or think about the travel industry. Travel agents aren't just selling plane tickets and hotel rooms.
Right, they sell the escape.
Exactly. They sell the dream of escape or adventure or total relaxation or immersing yourself in another culture. They bombard you with images, right? Pristine beaches, ancient wonders, buzzing cities, all designed to spark the feeling of that dream. Long before you look at the price tag or how long the flight is, they're giving you the story of an unforgettable experience, not just the boring logistics of getting there and having a place to sleep.
That's incredibly insightful. Okay, so giving them what they crave boils down to understanding and really actively tapping into those deeper hopes, those idealized visions. It's about providing the story, the sense of possibility, the feeling of the dream. Maybe more than just the cold, hard facts. But just to be clear, is this saying we should ignore reality entirely, or is it more about, like, cleverly presenting reality so it aligns with the dream people want?
Oh, it's definitely the second one. Absolutely. This isn't advocating for delusion or ignoring facts. Not at all. It's about framing reality, presenting it in a way that connects with that basic human desire for something more, for the ideal. Think of it like building a bridge. Okay, reality is the solid ground you're standing on right now. But the dream, that's the exciting place you want to get to, across the canyon. The real art, then, is showing people how this particular reality, this product, this policy, this opportunity is the bridge that can actually get them to their cherished dream. Or maybe how it already contains a piece of that dream. It's about recognizing that facts are maybe the ingredients, but the dream is the delicious meal you want people to taste and enjoy. You can list all the nutritional info, right? That's the reality. But what actually makes someone want the meal? It's the amazing smell, the beautiful presentation, the promise of a wonderful experience. So it's a really powerful tool for connection, for understanding too, because it lines up with a core psychological truth. We are moved by stories, by possibilities, often much more than by raw data alone. The effective communicator, the successful creator, they use the reality. They weave the facts into the narrative of the dream. making it feel tangible, feel achievable. They don't dismiss reality, they make it serve the dream.
Wow. What a genuinely profound and actually quite practical insight from The Art of Fantasies. This deep dive really has, I think, shone a light on that enduring human leaning towards dreams, maybe over stark reality sometimes. And the huge power that comes from recognizing that craving, and maybe catering to it. It's not about saying reality doesn't matter, clearly, but it's about understanding the powerful psychological filter we often use to view it, and how that filter really drives what motivates us. So I really encourage you, just think about this idea in your own life. How might this insight apply to how you understand what motivates people around you? Maybe your colleagues, your family, the brands you choose, political figures you follow, and maybe the big question, how does it apply to what truly motivates you? What stories, what ideal visions are you maybe unconsciously drawn to in your own life? What dreams are you personally craving?
And that leads to, I think, a really important final question for you to chew on. Just consider this. In what ways do you, maybe without even realizing it, already seek out or even actively create these dreams over reality in your own day-to-day? Could be the kind of news you read, the entertainment you consume, the goals you set for yourself, even just how you frame your own experiences. Or maybe the little ways you find yourself avoiding uncomfortable truths. How often do you find yourself naturally gravitating towards that idealized story? And what does that tendency reveal to you about the real power of this fundamental human craving in shaping your own world? Just keep an eye out for it. Notice how often this dynamic plays out, in the world around you, from the big global events down to tiny personal interactions. Once you start looking for it, it's actually quite surprising how often you see people genuinely chasing a dream, not just reacting to a fact. It's a lens that, yeah, it clarifies an awful